What's up guys, Red back again, and today I'm going to be starting a new series for the channel. You've probably seen a similar concept going around throughout some of the other YouTubers. It's basically called Who's In, and I'm going to rate the chances for some characters each episode that have potential to get into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and give you my opinions on whether I think they're actually going to get into the base game as DLC, or if they won't get in at all, as well as whether I would like to see them in. So if you have any future character ideas for this type of video, leave them down in the comments below and I'll get to them in future videos. So we're going to start off with what I deem to be one of the safest bets you can have at this point, and that is Bandana Waddle Dee from the Kirby series. I know, I can already hear a lot of you clicking off the video because of your disdain for this character. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news for you, but this character is extremely likely to be included in this roster. The Kirby series has not had a new entrant since Brawl, with both DDD and Meta Knight becoming playable. To think Sakurai would go 2 games in a row without adding a Kirby character seems extremely unlikely, especially given this series' popularity in Japan. Bandana Waddle Dee has basically become a mainstay character in the Kirby series over time and has appeared in over 10 Kirby games and is even playable in 4 of them. He has a defined moveset from most of the games that he has appeared in that would be easy to translate into the Smash universe. Also, he would be the first spear user to come to Smash Bros, which gives him that uniqueness factor that Sakurai looks for sometimes. Bandana Dee has separated himself from the other Waddle Dee in his series via his significance in the games and his actions. And if you wanted to get into theory crafting, there is evidence such as Bandana Dee conveniently being missing from King DDD's new Final Smash cinematic, despite actually being in the audience from the original scene when it occurred back in Kirby Superstar Ultra. A small detail like this is something that Sakurai most likely would not miss, and to me is a giant hint that Bandana Dee is in this game. All things considered, I'm going to give Bandana Dee a 90% chance of getting into the base game. He seems extremely likely and is, for me, the safest bet you can pick at this point. If he does somehow slip through the cracks of the base game, I'd say he has a 100% chance of getting in as DLC. And as for my personal want factor, I have him coming in at 90%. I really want this character in for a host of reasons. Next, we're going to move to Isaac. Now, Isaac is a character I have talked about quite a bit on my channel because he's one of my most wanted characters. I'll briefly go over him since I've talked about him so much already. Isaac has an incredibly unique moveset that would differentiate him from anyone else in the Smash roster. He also has an incredibly loyal fan base that has been backing him since before the Smash Bros. Brawl days. Sakurai noticed that enough to include him in Brawl as an assist trophy, and even when that trophy was removed in Smash 4, Golden Sun soundtracks remain inside of the game to further continue that connection and bond. Isaac is a character who definitely feels more popular to the Western audience, but that's not necessarily bad news. Sakurai has gone on record for saying that the reasons both Ridley and Little Mac got into Smash as playable characters were because of Western demand and popularity, so having that on his side is only a good thing for Isaac. Now, even though Isaac has a lot of points in his favor, he has some drawbacks as well in the age of his game. He's not old enough to be considered a retro character, and the most recent appearance he made was an older version of himself in Golden Sun Dark Dawn back in 2010. Also, he is a JRPG main protagonist, and there are going to be many other characters that fit that niche who will be fighting for a spot in the Smash Ultimate roster. Ultimately, I am giving Isaac a 50% chance to get into the base roster. If he slips through the cracks, I think his fan base will be able to make enough noise to get some DLC recognition, so I'd put him at about 65% for DLC, and as for my personal want, he sits at, no surprise, 100%. Lastly, we're going to be checking out Shadow the Hedgehog. This is a character on a lot of people's radar and seems like a given at this point for most. One thing that Shadow has going in his favor is the new rebranding of what used to be referred to as clones and now dubbed Echo Fighters. Fans of this series have finally been able to accept that these characters were never really taking away other roster slots, rather they should be viewed as bonus additions that normally we wouldn't have had. Shadow seems like one of the most obvious Echo fighters around, given how similar his appearance and proportions are compared to Sonic. Shadow is also an extremely popular character in this Sonic series. From just a little research into the Sonic fandom, it appears that Shadow has easily defined himself as the second most popular character in this series by a decent margin. And after asking a few Sonic fans personally, they seem to agree. Also in the same vein as Isaac, Shadow was previously a part of the Smash universe, as he was featured as an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. 4, and has yet to be revealed as an assist trophy for Smash Ultimate. In fact, it seems as if Knuckles may have taken that spot, leading many people to believe that Shadow will in fact be playable. A small obstacle that Shadow may have to overcome would be Tails. And while Tails is not as popular as Shadow, he still does have a decent fan base and could be a competitor for that Echo Fighter slot. Overall though, I would say that Shadow's chance of inclusion in the base game seems to be about 70%. Things are looking good for him. If he doesn't get into the base game, I feel like his chances are roughly the same for a DLC slot at 70%, as he would most likely be one of the most requested. And as for my personal want factor, sadly Shadow fans, it's coming in at only 10%. I was never a huge fan of Shadow and I much prefer Tails actually, but I can still respect a Shadow inclusion if he does happen to get in. So guys, that brings us to the end of the first episode of Who's In. Leave your thoughts on these characters down in the comments below. What do you think their chances are? And also leave characters you want me to do a future episode on down there as well, and they will show up in future episodes. Make sure to check out some of my previous videos if you have time. Don't forget to subscribe for more future content. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys tomorrow.